Um, so my hardest experience, I've never really ever like sat down and like talked about it all in one sitting, so this is different. Um, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when I realized that I had depression and I realized that like I wasn't happy. Um, but I guess it started towards the very end of my sophomore year, and the summer before my junior year really escalated. And it all kind of was originated from like this feeling where I felt like I was unworthy of love from anyone, from, a boyfriend, from my friends, from my family. Um, I felt this, like, like no one could possibly love me. And it really took over my life and my relationships with my friends and everything. I don't know if part of my feeling of not being able to be loved came from the fact that I lost basically all of my friends that summer, or if I lost my friends because I had this problem. But it was really hard for me. It was my hardest experience. And so, I'd go through days where I just felt awful. And I knew friends who had cut themselves, and I knew that that was like something that you do when you're depressed. And so I was like, okay, I'll see what that's like. And so I did. And at first it was a punishment for myself because I was mad at myself. I was frustrated that I wasn't perfect, that I didn't have friends, that I felt like I was this awful human being because I couldn't possibly be loved, which is so untrue. Um, but so I started hurting myself, and at first it was just a little bit, but eventually, like, it became this really big problem for me. It was an addiction, because in a weird way it made me feel better. It made me feel like I was able to, I don't know. I haven't really ever talked about this before, but uh, I reached out to people when this started happening because I was like, this isn't normal. And the first person I told, they told me that was fine, that it was just a rough patch and that I'd get over it. And that was it. And it continued, and I didn't get over it. And then, my best friend, I told her, and she freaked out. She was like, okay, either you're telling your parents or I'm telling your parents. So, I told my dad, and that was, in and of itself, that was a really hard experience, because, he looked so hurt, and I didn't like being the reason why he felt hurt. And then he told my mom, and I started to get therapy, which was really good. But this feeling continued, even though I was going through therapy, and my habit continued. It was not fun. And I'd wake up in the mornings and cry because I had woken up. I knew every morning that I'd have to go through the same thing I'd went through the day before. And it was really not fun. So, at one point, cutting myself wasn't enough. Suicide was constantly on my mind. So this one time really sticks out in my mind. It was a ward Halloween party, and I walk in, and I walk in, and everyone, all of the youth are sitting at one table, and this sounds really dumb, but yeah, they're just all sitting there at one table, and I wasn't invited. No one said hi to me. I walked by several times, and like no one like was like, "Oh, hey, Ashlyn, nice to see you." And I just remember like being right there and thinking to myself, like, "You're so dumb. Like, no one wants you here. There's no point. Why are you still here?" So, I went into the bathroom, and I wanted to kill myself, but I couldn't, because I was like, you know what, I'm in the church, there are tons of children here, like, I can't just leave my body for some, like, little kid to find, like, that scar them forever, like, that's awful, like, and I don't want to do that to anyone, and I don't want to hurt anyone, but at the same time, I really just didn't want to be there, because it was very obvious to me that I wasn't wanted, and I wasn't ever going to be wanted, because I wasn't good enough for them, and I wasn't good enough for anyone, and that was probably one of my darkest nights. Yeah. And then, you know, there was more therapy, and I had a really good friend, my best friend, and, you know, like, we hung out a lot, and, like, she helped me get through it, and then things started to get better, and I began to realize, in 2014, you know, the new year, something just clicked in me, and I decided that I didn't want to feel this way anymore, and that I didn't want to have things like the ward Halloween party happen anymore, and so, I don't know, I didn't really notice when it started to get bad. I didn't really notice when it started to get better either. But I remember in January at some point just waking up and being happy. It was really big for me. Tears, gross. But I decided that I wasn't gonna let people's opinions of me really bug me anymore. I decided that, you know, my family loves me, and that's enough, and I love me, and that's enough, and you know, I eventually was able to not really care. I don't know if that's the word, because I still care what people think of me, but, you know, the number of friends didn't really matter. I didn't really care about what people thought, and when I realized that people's opinions of me didn't matter, it was very empowering. Empowering because it's my life. I control it. No one else has a say over what I do, who I am. And I don't know, when I realized that, things began to get better, and I began to get better, and, you know, it was about a year ago that, you know, I came to this realization, and since, you know, life has been good, I've been happy, which is really, really important. But yeah, no, that's just my whole junior year is just my hardest experience.